Hello, colleagues. Group 1 has selected the thought leader to be former President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. Briefing today will be myself, Doug Kobola, Jonia Destine, Martin Fong, Steve Saman, and Harrison Uwadia. In this presentation, we will highlight President Obama's management style, his key learnings while he was president, and discuss his managerial advice both as a manager and a president. Before we begin, being leader of the free world is considered one of the toughest jobs on the planet. The U.S. president leads a country of 320 million people. The power and responsibilities of the United States president are unique and unmatched, as only 44 people have ever had this position. Despite your political affiliation and personal feelings towards President Obama, we ask that you view this presentation from an unbiased standpoint. Throughout this brief, we hope to illustrate President Obama's ability to resolve conflict and influence decision. We will also explore lessons learned and his emotional intelligence. We will leave you off with time and stress management skills, teamwork, and general guidance displayed by President Obama. His presidency is an example of effective leadership, power, and impacting change. Jonia will now talk to you about President Obama's ability to manage conflict.
Thanks, Doug. Let's look at the former President Obama's managerial style. The former president's managerial style has been talked about and described in many ways. It's hard to know where to start when you're compiling a list of all the must-reads about the president's leadership style. The former president has been the subject of countless profiles and multitude of books. And with that in mind, we've compiled a list of a few of the best long articles that dissect with more nuances of his managerial style. Now let's look at the list. We have a conflict resolution president. He's charismatic. He's described as someone that's pragmatic and also a facilitator of change. He's been referred to as an effective communicator. We've seen that during many of the State of the Union addresses, overseas speeches, various speaking engagements. He's also referred to as someone who's a good listener and persuasive. Someone that's strongly engaging, which goes back to being a good listener. Because if you're a good listener, you're able to engage and you're able to respond because you are listening to the individual or to the group or whomever, and empowering. He's also been labeled as a good delegator and someone who is ambitious, empathizes, and respects even his opponents, which is something that we saw during the U.S. election on how he maintained his composure even though his opponents were, playing dirty, so to say. Turning over to the next slide to discuss his conflict style. His conflict style, I want to say, is described as he adapts a compromising style. And we say that because while addressing the class of the 2016 at Howard University, the president told the next generation that passion and outrage would fail to bring the change they seek unless it is accompanied by strategic thinking and tempered by unwillingness to compromise. Basically, you want change, and change is good, but you also yourself have to be able to compromise and see the other side. It can't always be about your take. He utilizes a collaborating and avoiding technique. Obama's natural preference is to attempt to solve conflicts via collaborating for a win-win solution, and easy yields to opposition. Now we're going to turn it over to Martin Fong to continue the discussion on the former president's managerial style. Martin, take it over.
Thanks, Jonia, for the introduction. In slide 6, we'll continue to discuss the management style of President Obama, and we'll talk about his persuasive and charismatic traits. We covered persuasion in week 8 of class, and Dr. Emerino defines persuasion as someone who will guide people to adopt a position, behavior, belief, or attitude, while also demonstrating respect for others' beliefs. We present arguments and supporting evidence, but also create an appropriate emotional climate. Note that this is not considered as manipulation. And what we found as a group is that Obama relies heavily on persuasion to implement change, and he's shown some of this during his presidential campaign back in 2008. What we also found is that Obama was listed as a transformational charismatic based on an article posted on toughnickel.com. And a transformational charismatic leader was defined as someone with the ability to invoke permanent change in people who embrace the leader's vision. We note that the difference between charismatic and a transformational charismatic leader is that a charismatic leader, you're not looking to permanently change people's beliefs or positions, but you rely on persuasion to help push the idea forward. Obama was also known by many as the great persuader. From looking at many of his interactions with others, he's shown that he has a lot of empathy and respect for the people who he disagrees with. And one of the strategies he uses is to communicate with these individuals and to tell them a story that illustrates the human impact of whatever issue they're looking to address. For example, in 2013, he was addressing a nation as a healer-in-chief due to horrific events at Sandy Hook. This is the 4th mass shooting of his presidency, and Obama was addressing a nation with many emotions. Obama addressed the nation's gun laws and tried to persuade pro-gun lawmakers to understand the issues that the United States was facing. He used the phrase of "we will have to change" to help push these individuals to make a decision. Lastly, we found that Obama was the type of person who liked to take challenges head-on. From domestic to foreign policy, Obama was depicted as someone who did not shy away from any issue. He would try to fully understand the issues and concerns of all parties and attempt to find a bipartisan agreement that would address any and all concerns. In slide 7, we talk about a few key learning points that former President Obama made along the way during his presidency. Earlier during his term, he was able to identify his own weaknesses and attempted to manage the issues either by working with others or by himself. The majority of his key learnings were shown through his patience, negotiating skills, decision-making, and creation while working with other members of government, and globally when looking to address global issues. Obama also mentioned that his job was not about implementing policy, but about creating unity, focusing on we rather than I. His leadership was about empowering others to do what they can to help progress. Another key learning point of President Obama was that failing publicly can be liberating. This made him become more humble and less fearful. Obama was quoted stating, "It's a liberating feeling when you realize it's okay. You're still here. You have a chance to do some good." Obama also learned that you can only plan for so much. For example, when the U.S. intervened in the independence of Libya, Obama mentions that he, along with a number of foreign policy staff, were not prepared for the issues that arose after the downfall of Gaddafi. Which brings us to the final point, where Obama mentions, gain the confidence to take action and knowing that the outcome will not be perfect. Adjustments will eventually need to be made. Up next, Steve will be presenting some additional key learnings made along the way by President Obama.
Additional key learnings that President Obama has learned during his 8-year presidency include emotional intelligence, which was highly displayed during his initial 2008 presidential campaign. President Obama displayed the 4 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. During President Obama's tenure, rarely did you see him lose his cool or let emotions get the best of him. President Obama has a cool and calm demeanor and has been known to be quite funny. This gave him the upper hand during his presidency. During his presidency, President Obama often had to make difficult decisions with incomplete information on a diverse set of topics, from diplomatic relations with hostile nations to preserving the national parks, and to overall make sure that America is in good standing. Managing time and stress are key managerial guidance that President Obama spoke of. President Obama identified 3 time management tips that helped him as president. 1. Carve out personal time. President Obama always made sure he created time to spend time with his wife and children, and also allocating time to relieve some stress by going to the gym and playing basketball often. He would exercise constantly in order to clear his mind and make sure that he was focused at all times. 2. Stick to a routine. President Obama said he favored predictability. For a job as stressful as being the President of the United States, making it up as you go along every hour of the day would add an enormous tax to decision making, the President's single most important task. 3. Conserving your willpower. President Obama felt that your decision-making power fatigues like a muscle over the course of the day. Routines, habits, and virtuous cycles also conserve your willpower. Next up to present is Harrison.
Slide 10. As a group, we discover some of the advice ex-President Barack Obama gave managers and leaders for efficient and effective management and purposeful leadership. The former president, who said he believes in teamwork, declared that the office of the president is bigger than any one person. He gave this advice to President Donald Trump when they met at the White House during the transition period. On another occasion, he advised leaders to cooperate with others on issues of common interest, especially when their values align. But he advised them to feel free to disagree on whatever does not comply with acceptable values and norms. He also suggests to leaders to help others succeed so as to ensure the sustenance of leadership and democracy. In addition, we discover that the former president has always emphasized honesty and transparency in dealing with others. In his meeting with a group of leaders in United Kingdom, he advised them to be honest, saying it is not even wrong for leaders to admit that they don't have all answers to all the questions and solutions to all problems. Slide 11. Furthermore, he does not consider compromising a weakness. As such, he urges managers and leaders not to be afraid to compromise, but they should distinguish between compromising on principle and compromising on getting things done. He strongly encourages leaders who plan to succeed to listen to others and avoid distraction, and recommends that they should accommodate others' perspectives and point of view. He also recommends that managers and leaders should spot talents and help them grow, as well as do great things. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for viewing this presentation. We hope you learned more about the management style of former President Barack Obama. What do you think about the management style of former President Obama? What management style would you add to our presentation that we did not mention? If you'd like to learn more about the 44th President of the United States, please click on any of the references listed below. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. Thanks again for watching.